So give it up for Borna and his cats as well, who are sadly not with us today.
Thank you so much. Please don't awe. It sounds like they're dead. They're not. Well, first of all, I'm afraid I'm not going to be really funny today. The reason is my topic is political satire and apathy. And I have to explain to you that you are not the neighbors of Croatia, or you're not Bosnians, Slovenians, or Serbians, or Montenegrins, and you're not aware of the fact that being a Croatian comedian or a Croatian satirist, it's really ironic, considering we really don't have a sense of humor. And the reason is because we don't use humor for the purposes of making people laugh. We use humor because we're a spiteful and angry nation. Everything good that we do it out of spite and anger. We reached the final of the World Cup because we're really angry. And it's true really. And so the thing is that back home, people think, oh, Croatia, what a beautiful country. Oh, it's gorgeous. You have a gorgeous coast, you have a great football team, your people are, successful and world-known, but okay, and you have a great president. But the fact is we're really angry and we really hate our country. We don't hate our country, but we really are apathic. We do not like our politics, we do not like our democracy, we do not like a whole bunch of stuff. And the thing is, every time when I talk with my friends or my colleagues, a bunch of them say, I'm not voting. What's the point? What's the purpose of voting? I'm not going to read news about politics. What's the point? What's the purpose? It just depresses me, right? And it got me really angry and mad. And me and my colleague decided we want to fight back. How do we fight back, right? We were smart at that. You heard about David and Goliath, right? You heard about Robin the Locksmith. Now you think it's a story about an underdog fighting a bigger enemy, fighting the system? It is not. It's a manual. It's a manual. If you were a shepherd in 500 BC, and you were a shepherd in Israel, when you heard a story of David and Goliath, there was a manual. Why? Because David didn't put on like full-plate mail. He didn't have an amazing lance. He didn't have a great helmet. He had a sling and a rock. And if you were a shepherd in Israel, you looked around yourself, there was a bunch of rocks. And it was easy for you to make the sling. Now, if you were a British peasant in the Middle Ages, and you heard the story of Robin of Locksley, you would hear the story of a man who also was not wearing a full plate, who did not have a lance, a helmet, a fast horse. He had a longbow. And if you were a peasant, you looked around, and you had a bow too. Those stories were not just stories to inspire, they were manuals how to fight back. And the idea was, if there's so many of us who want to fight back, we don't need to have a lot of money, we just need to find tools to fight back. And the best tools are the tools that everybody can have. And we looked around the world and we were like, okay, where are the countries that have a low amount of political apathy? Where are the countries who have young people being interested in politics, studying politics, reading the news, knowing what's happening? In most people's Western countries, developed countries, the United States, England, and what they had was political satire. So what we decided is to mimic that. And I would like to thank very much people here who are from The Onion. I would like to thank very much Maddox. I would like to thank very much anybody who knows anybody from Daily Show. This were our slings. This were our longbows. And we said, we can do this. And we did. We started with fake news. Oh, one thing we decided before that, we're not going to take any money from the government, from the local government, from the NGOs, from the grants, because the idea was to show that we can survive on our own, to float on the sea of free market, because if we can make it, then everybody can make it, right? You can have a grant today, but tomorrow you don't know what's going to happen. You can have a nice minister today of culture, but you don't know what's going to happen after the election, right? So we started off slowly, doing fake news, doing fake quotes still today quoted by the government officials, by the mayors, who like them so much they don't even care they're fake quotes anymore. They're fake quotes from our historical legendary figures. Of course, they're all made up, but for the purposes of propaganda and populism, we use them just to see, do people even, analyze what they're quoting? Do they even double check what they're quoting? Of course they don't. And we started working this. We started working on the show, we started working on different types of videos, interviews, and we got in a lot of trouble. Not maybe necessarily like our colleagues from Zimbabwe, but this is the thing, right? We wanted to prove that Croatia is not a beautiful country, and that even though we are a part of EU and we're a part of NATO, and we have a very lovely president who goes around hugging football players, we are not a healthy country. We're not a healthy society. And our point was, if we do this and everything goes fine, we will be wrong. But if they fight back, we will know something's amiss. And it was. We were sued a couple of times. Actually, just before I got on the plane traveling here, my colleague called me and said, we have to talk to the police when we come back. I asked why. I said, I don't know yet. But there's something happening as well. So there's another lawsuit coming. Another thing is, we were blacklisted by the biggest and the most richest oligarch in Croatia. And when you're blacklisted by a person like that, it's not officially censorship. The government doesn't do nothing. But this man who owns 30% of the industry at that point, he did, and all the partners that work with him, all the media that gets his money in order to put up his commercials, all of them were like, okay, we're not touching this guy. This guy did something wrong. And the only thing we did wrong, we wrote an article saying that this man must be incredibly poor considering we're subsidizing him with 100 million euros per year, right? And he got mad. He got really mad enough that he blacklisted us. So we were censored, basically pushed aside, and it wasn't any law, it was not any regulation. But still, we continued on doing the show. We started slowly on our website. We got a first real gig on a private television called RTL, a German-owned television. After that, they put us after midnight. They were also very much aware of the problems. They're also having commercials they're also dealing with Croatian industries. And they put us after midnight. And at one point, this crazy editor from the national television decided he's going to call us because we were really having great, amazing numbers. And just before that, there was a presidential elections that Kolinda won. And we reached 1.5 million people online on Facebook. For a country of 4 million, that was a lot. 3 days before the elections, we were hacked. We were under constant attack by the DDoS attacks coming from the IP from Russia. It stopped the moment the election stopped. Basically, that was the first sign that we were doing something right and something good. And this crazy editor from the TV producer from the national television calls us, right? He called us and said, guys, you're doing fine. You have great numbers. We want to see you on the national television. We were thrilled. This was crazy. We were in the prime time, Sunday night, just after the main news. And the deal was we're going to do a season, 12 episodes. And just after the 6th episode, the government changed, and we were fired, right? We were pushed aside again. After that, we got a couple of death threats in the meantime. And we were finally picked up by a regional cable network called N1. It's an American, and not just an American, but at that point it was mostly American-owned type of network. The man who was sitting in the board was General Petraeus, our president, our lovely president, who was also a secretary at NATO. She sent them a letter saying, what kind of a rubbish are you allowing to be played in our country, right? She got a very, very automatic response saying, we do not interfere in the editorial politics of our TV stations. But she tried, she did. And the biggest problem was that we slowly realized that this is not enough. There's a lot of people who left Croatia, went to Ireland, went to Germany, they're writing us, they're saying, guys, thank you for existing, because we're following the news because of you now, because we usually wouldn't have time or the nerve or just energy to go through the horrible things that are happening every week. We are dealing with Croatian war crimes, or back home they call it the glorious victory. And we deal with our war criminals, which back home are called heroes, right? And we do it on purpose. We attack our church, we do it on purpose. We go after the things that we know will not be popular. We're not trying to be popular in my country, because being popular in my country, well, it's a bad sign. It's not a good sign, to be honest, unless you're a football player. Okay. And so basically, we realized that we cannot do this incredible change. And one of the reasons why is because all this narrative started switching from the Croatian problems, the Croatian topics, into the European problems and the European topics. So, well, usually you would have a problem with the nationalists who hate Serbs, for example. And the way that we dealt with them was that we gave our own candidates, and we would approach them being even much more hardcore. So when they would say, you know, the 5% of Serbs in Croatia are, you know, causing a problem, we would say, sure, you know, here's the 5 constructive examples how we can get rid of that 5% of Serbs in my country, right? And it would be very interesting because their fans would kind of start loving us more than them. We would normalize the right-wingers in that regard. And now that may seem like a bad tactics, but trust me, normalizing somebody who makes money or who makes political capital on